The stars look different out here. Alex Rodriguez pressed his face against the cold window of the bridge and watched them shine like tiny diamonds. He had been in space for 6 months now, but the view still made him feel small. The U's Harmony was the biggest ship humans had ever built. It was their first real attempt to explore the deep parts of space, far from Earth, and the safety of home. Alex was a lieutenant commander, which meant he was important enough to make decisions, but not important enough to make the really big ones. That job belonged to Captain Jake Sullivan, who was sleeping in his quarters right now. Alex had the night watch, which meant he got to stare at the stars and make sure nothing tried to kill them while everyone else slept. The bridge was quiet, except for the soft hum of computers and the gentle whoosh of air moving through the vents. Alex liked the quiet times. During the day, the bridge was full of people talking and working and making noise. But at night, it was peaceful. He could think. The Harmony was not just a military ship. It carried scientists who wanted to study, new worlds, diplomats who hoped to make friends with alien races, and even some artists. The artists were supposed to show aliens what human culture was like. Alex thought it was a strange idea, but he was not the one making the decisions. One of those artists was Katie Morgan. She played the violin, and she was really good at it. Alex had heard her practice sometimes when he walked past the recreation deck. The music was beautiful, but he did not understand why they needed to bring a violin player to space. What good was music when you were trying to explore new worlds? And avoid getting killed by aliens? A soft beep from one of the computers brought Alex back to the present. He walked over to the scanner station and looked at the screen. There were some new dots showing up on the long-range sensors. Ships, maybe. Alex felt his heart start to beat faster. Computer, run a full scan on those contacts, he said. The computer made some clicking sounds and then displayed new information on the screen. The dots were definitely ships, big ones, and they were heading straight for the Harmony. Alex hit the alarm button. Red lights started flashing, and a loud siren began to wail throughout the ship. Within 2 minutes, Captain Sullivan ran onto the bridge. His hair was messy from sleep, but his eyes were alert. "What do we have, Alex?" Sullivan asked. "Unknown ships approaching from Sector 7. Computer counts at least 12 vessels. They are big, Captain. Bigger than us." Sullivan looked at the screen and frowned. "Any response to our communication attempts?" "I just started scanning them, sir. Should I try to make contact?" "Do it." Alex sat down at the communication station and opened a channel. "Unknown vessels, this is Lieutenant Commander Alex Rodriguez of the United Earthship Harmony. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions." They waited. The bridge was very quiet. Alex could hear his own breathing and the captain's footsteps as Sullivan paced behind him. Other crew members started arriving on the bridge. Lisa Chun, the head scientist, looked worried. Pete Collins, the chief engineer, was wiping sleep from his eyes. Then the communication system crackled to life. The voice that came through the speakers was cold and mechanical, like a computer trying to sound like a person. "Human vessel, you will prepare for immediate surrender. Your species is classified as primitive and unstable. You are not permitted to exist in civilized space." Alex felt his blood turn cold. He looked at Captain Sullivan, who had stopped pacing. The captain's face was hard, like stone. "This is Captain Jake Sullivan of the U's Harmony. We are on a peaceful exploration mission. We have no hostile intentions toward any species." "Your intentions are irrelevant," the alien voice replied. "Humans display excessive emotional responses and irrational behavior patterns. Your kind spreads chaos wherever you go. This cannot be tolerated. What proof do you have of this?" Sullivan asked. "Our scans of your vessel show multiple individuals engaged in non-productive activities. One of your crew members creates acoustic vibrations with no logical purpose. This is evidence of mental instability. Alex realized they were talking about Katie and her violin. These aliens thought music was a sign of mental illness. That is called art, Sullivan said. Music is part of human culture. It brings us joy and helps us express our feelings. Emotions are a weakness. Joy is inefficient. Your species must be eliminated before you can contaminate other civilizations with your instability. The communication channel went silent. Alex looked at the scanner screen. The alien ships were getting closer. They would be in weapons range in less than an hour. Sullivan turned to face his crew. All hands to battle stations. This is not a drill. We are about to face an enemy that wants to destroy us simply because we are human. The bridge became busy as crew members ran to their positions. Alex had trained for this moment, but he never thought it would actually happen. Their first contact with an alien species, and they wanted to kill all humans. Lisa Chun was studying the scanner readings. Captain, their ships are much more advanced than ours. Their weapons and shields are at least 50 years ahead of our technology. How many ships? Sullivan asked. 15 now, sir. More are coming. Pete Collins looked up from his engineering station. Captain, our weapons are not going to be enough. We have missiles and energy cannons, but their shields can probably stop everything we have. Alex felt fear creeping into his mind. They were one ship against 15. Their technology was primitive compared to the aliens. They were probably going to die out here, far from Earth, and no one would ever know what happened to them. Just then, he heard something that made him stop thinking about death. It was music. Soft violin music was coming through the ship's communication system. Katie Morgan was playing somewhere on the ship, and somehow her music was being broadcast to the entire crew. The melody was sad, but also strong. It reminded Alex of home, of Earth, of everything worth fighting for. He looked around the bridge and saw that other crew members were listening too. The fear in their eyes was being replaced by something else. Determination, maybe, or defiance. Sir, Alex said to the captain, should we tell her to stop playing? The aliens think music is a sign of mental illness. Sullivan listened to the violin for a moment. Then he smiled, and it was not a nice smile. It was the kind of smile a person makes when they decide to fight instead of run. No, Alex, let her play. If these aliens think our humanity makes us weak, then let's show them just how wrong they are. The first alien attack came without warning. One moment the Harmony was moving through space peacefully, and the next moment bright beams of energy were hitting their shields. Alex held on to his chair as the ship shook violently. The lights on. The bridge flickered, and somewhere in the distance he could hear the sound of metal being torn apart. Shields down to 60%, Pete Collins shouted from his engineering station. They are hitting us hard, Captain. Sullivan gripped the arms of his command chair. Return fire. All weapons. The Harmony's missiles shot out into space toward the alien ships. Alex watched on the screen as the missiles hit the enemy shields and exploded in bright flashes. But the alien ships kept coming. Their shields barely seemed damaged. Direct hit on their lead ship, Alex reported. No visible damage, sir. Another wave of alien energy beams struck the Harmony. This time the ship shook so hard that Alex was thrown from his chair. He hit the floor and felt pain shoot through his shoulder. Around him, other crew members were picking themselves up and checking their equipment. Shields down to 30%, Pete called out. His voice was strained. Captain, I do not think we can take many more hits like that. The alien voice came through the communication system again, cold and emotionless. Human vessel, your resistance is illogical. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Sullivan stood up, blood running down his forehead from where he had hit the console. This is Captain Sullivan. We will never surrender to you, and you will die slowly. The communication channel went dead. Alex got back to his station and looked at the scanner. More alien ships were arriving. They now had 20 ships surrounding the Harmony. 20 ships against one. That was when Alex heard the violin music again. But this time, it was different. Katie was not just playing in her quarters anymore. The music was coming from the corridor outside the bridge. She was walking through the ship, playing her violin as the battle raged around them. What is she doing? Lisa Chun asked, looking confused. Alex listened to the music. It was a strong, defiant melody. Not sad like before, but fierce and determined. As Katie played, something strange started happening. The crew members around him seemed to stand up straighter. The fear in their eyes was being replaced by anger and determination. "Sir," Pete Collins said, and his voice sounded different, stronger. "I am reading some unusual energy patterns from our engines. The music, is doing something to our systems." Sullivan looked interested. "What kind of patterns?" "The harmonic. Frequencies from the violin are creating resonance in our power grid. It is like the music is making our engines work better." Lisa Chun was studying her scanner readings. "Captain, I am detecting something else. The alien ships. Their scanning equipment seems to be having trouble locking onto us when the music is playing." Alex felt excitement building in his chest. "Are you saying the music is jamming there?" "Sensors? Not jamming exactly," Lisa said. "But it is confusing them. Human brain patterns change when we listen to music. Our neural activity becomes more complex, more unpredictable. The aliens have never seen anything like it before." Another blast from the alien ships hit the Harmony, but this time the shields held better. Pete was right. The music was somehow making their systems work more efficiently. Katie's violin music grew louder as she moved closer to the bridge. Alex could hear her footsteps in the corridor outside. Other crew members were following her, and they were singing along with the melody. The sound of human voices joined with the violin created something beautiful and powerful. Sullivan made a decision. Open all internal communication channels. "I want Katie's music broadcast throughout the entire ship." "Sir?" Alex asked. "Do it. If our music confuses their sensors and boosts our systems, then let's give them more than they can handle." Alex opened the channels. Within seconds, Katie's violin music was playing in every room, every corridor, every deck of the Harmony. The crew could hear it no matter where they were, and they responded to it. In the engine room, Pete's team started working faster and more efficiently. In the medical bay, Dr. Tony Williams found that his patients were recovering more quickly. In the weapons control room, the gunners found they could aim more accurately. But the most amazing thing was happening to the crew themselves. The music was not just making their equipment work better. It was making them work better. They were thinking more clearly, moving more quickly, and working together like they had never worked before. "Captain," Alex said, staring at his console. In amazement, "Our weapon accuracy has improved by 40%. Our engine efficiency is up 30%. Even our life support systems are running better." Lisa Chun looked up from her science station with wonder in her eyes. "The music is creating a harmony between the crew and the ship's systems. We are working together as one unit." Another alien attack came, but this time the Harmony was ready. Their shields absorbed the energy beams more efficiently. Their return fire was more accurate, and their movement through space was smoother and faster. Katie walked onto the bridge, still playing her violin. Her face was calm and focused, even as the ship shook around her. She looked at Captain Sullivan and nodded, never stopping her music. "How are you doing this?" Sullivan asked her during a brief pause in her playing. Katie smiled. "Music is not just sound, Captain. It is emotion made into something real. It is the human heart speaking directly to other human hearts. When we work together, when we feel together, we become stronger than the sum of our parts. The aliens do not understand this, Lisa said. They think individually, logically, separately. They cannot comprehend how we can work together so perfectly. Pete Collins called out from his station. Captain, I have an idea. If the music is creating harmonic resonance in our systems, maybe we can use that resonance as a weapon. Explain. Sullivan said, every ship has a natural frequency, a vibration that runs through its structure. If we can match that frequency and amplify it, we might be able to cause serious damage to their ships. Alex felt hope growing in his chest. Like using sound to shatter glass? Exactly. But we would need to get close to them. Very close. Sullivan looked at Katie, who was still playing her violin. The music filled the bridge with strength and determination. How? Close? He asked. Pete checked his calculations. Close enough to touch them. The alien ships moved into a perfect circle around the harmony. Alex watched on his screen as they took positions like hunters surrounding their prey. But these hunters had a surprise waiting for them, something they had never seen before, and would not understand until it was too late. Captain, Pete Collins called out from his engineering station, I am detecting massive energy buildup in their lead ship. Whatever they are planning, it is going to be big. Sullivan nodded grimly. All crew members, prepare for impact. This is going to hurt. But instead of weapons fire, something else began to happen. The space around the harmony started to change. Dark clouds began forming out of nothing, swirling and growing larger. Lightning flashed between the clouds, and Alex could hear the rumble of thunder through the ship's hull. What is that? Lisa. Chon asked, staring at her sensors in confusion. Weather, Alex said, not believing his own words. They are making weather in space. The first drops of rain began hitting the Harmony's hull. Real rain, falling in the vacuum of space. The alien. Technology was creating its own atmosphere around their ship, complete with storm clouds and precipitation. The rain quickly became a downpour, and the lightning grew more intense. Shields are being drained by the electrical activity, Pete reported. The rain is somehow conducting energy away from our defensive systems. Thunder crashed around them, so loud that the entire ship vibrated. Alex had seen storms on Earth, but this was different. This storm was controlled, directed, and it was trying to kill them. The aliens were using the weather itself as a weapon. How is this possible? Sullivan asked. Lisa Chun was working frantically at her science station. They have created a localized atmospheric bubble around us. The storm is contained within this bubble. It is like being inside a giant weather machine. The rain was coming down harder now, drumming against the hull like 1,000 hammers. The lightning was striking the ship every few seconds, and each strike drained more power from their systems. The Harmony was being slowly torn apart by the storm. Shields down to 15%, Pete called out. We cannot take much more of this. That was when Katie started playing again. But this time, her music was different. It was wild and fierce, like the storm itself. She played notes that seemed to dance with the lightning and harmony that matched. The rhythm of the thunder. What is she playing? Alex asked. I know this piece, Lisa said, listening to the melody. It is called Storm's Defiance. It was written by a composer who lived through the great hurricane of 2089. He wrote it about refusing to surrender to nature's fury. As Katie played, something amazing began to happen. The crew stopped looking. Afraid, they stopped thinking about surrender. Instead, they began to fight back with a determination that surprised even themselves. Sarah Mitchell, the ship's pilot, was at her station working the flight controls. Captain, I can navigate through this storm. The music is helping me see patterns in the lightning. I can predict where it will strike next. Do it, Sullivan ordered. Sarah's hands moved over the controls with perfect precision. The harmony began. To dance through the storm, dodging lightning bolts and riding the wind currents that the aliens had created. The ship moved like it was alive, flowing with the storm instead of fighting against it. Danny Park, the communications officer, was working at his station with intense focus. Captain, I am picking up transmissions from other human colonies. They are asking for our status. Send them Katie's music, Sullivan said immediately. Sir, broadcast her performance to every human ship and colony within range. Let them know we are still fighting. Danny's fingers flew over his controls. Within minutes, Katie's violin music was being transmitted across space to human settlements on dozens of worlds. The storm's fury was being shared with all of humanity, along with the message that the crew of the Harmony refused to give up. Meanwhile, Pete Collins was studying the storm with growing excitement. Captain, I think I understand what they are doing wrong. Explain, Sullivan said, holding onto his chair as another lightning bolt struck the ship. They are using their technology to create this storm, but they do not really understand weather. They think it is just energy patterns that can be controlled logically. But weather has chaos in it. It has randomness and unpredictability. What does that mean for us? Pete grinned, even as the ship shook around him. It means we can turn their weapon against them. The rain they are creating is just water vapor and electrical energy. If we can change the temperature of that water vapor rapidly enough, we can create a feedback loop. Alex was trying to understand. A feedback loop? Steam explosion, Pete said simply. If we heat the rain to the boiling point instantly, it will expand so fast that it creates a shock wave. We can literally set their rain on fire. Lisa Chun looked up from her instruments. That would require enormous amounts of energy, more than our engines can produce. Not our engines alone, Pete said, looking at Katie as she continued to play, but our engines working in harmony with the music. The resonance Katie creates makes our systems more efficient. If we time it right, we can channel all our power into one massive energy burst. Sullivan considered this for a moment. Lightning crashed around them, and the rain continued to pound the hull. The shields were down to 10%. They had to try something soon, or the storm would destroy them. How long do we have? He asked Pete. Maybe 5 minutes before the shields collapse completely. Sullivan looked at Katie, who was playing with. Her eyes closed, completely focused on her music. Katie, can you play that piece again, but louder and stronger? She nodded without opening her eyes or stopping her playing. The music began to grow in volume and intensity. The melody soared above the sound of thunder, and the harmony cut through the noise of rain against metal dot as the music grew stronger. Alex felt something changing in himself and in the crew around him. They were no longer just fighting to survive. They were fighting to prove something. To show these aliens that humanity could not be broken by their cold logic and controlled storms. All stations, prepare for full power discharge, Sullivan ordered. We are going to set this rain on fire. The thunder roared, the lightning flashed, and Katie's violin sang its defiant song into the storm. In 3 minutes, they would either escape this trap or die trying. But they would die as humans, with music in their hearts and fire in their souls. The countdown began. 3 minutes until the shields failed. 3 minutes to do something that had never been tried before. 3 minutes to turn a storm into a weapon. Katie's violin music reached a crescendo that seemed to make the very air vibrate. Alex could feel the sound waves moving through his body, through the ship, through everything around them. The music was no longer just beautiful. It was powerful, like a force of nature itself. Pete, are you ready? Captain Sullivan asked. Pete Collins was working frantically at his engineering station, his hands moving over the controls faster than Alex had ever seen. Almost there, Captain. I am rerouting all power to the main engines. When Katie hits the next high note, I will release everything we have." The ship shook as another massive lightning bolt struck their failing shields. Alex looked at his readouts and saw the numbers dropping. 7%, 6%, 5%. "Sarah, get us as close as possible to their lead ship." Sullivan ordered. Sarah Mitchell gripped the flight controls tightly. "Captain, if we get too close and this does not work, we will be destroyed along with them." "If we do not try, we are dead anyway," Sullivan replied. The Harmony moved through the storm like a dancer, spinning and weaving between lightning bolts. Sarah was flying the ship better than Alex had ever seen anyone fly anything. The music seemed to guide her hands, helping her see patterns in the chaos. 2 minutes, Pete called out. Katie's music grew even more intense. She was playing notes that Alex did not think were possible on a violin. The melody was like a battle cry, full of defiance and determination. Around the bridge, every crew member was working with perfect coordination, as if they were all part of one mind. Lisa Chun was monitoring the alien ships. "Captain, they are not reacting to our movement. I think they believe we are trying to escape through the storm." "Good," Sullivan said. "Let them think that." "Danny, any word from the other human ships?" Danny Park looked up from his communication station with a huge smile on his face. "Captain, you need to hear this. The colonies have been listening to Katie's music. They are sending ships to help us." "How many ships?" "All of them, sir. Every human vessel within 3 systems is heading this way." Alex felt hope surge through him. They were not alone. Other humans had heard Katie's music and understood what it meant. They were coming to fight. 1 minute, Pete announced. Alien storm was at its strongest now. Rain was pouring down so hard that it sounded like machine gun fire against the hull. Lightning was striking every few seconds, and the thunder was so loud that Alex could barely hear his own thoughts. But through it all, Katie's violin sang its defiant song. "Shields at 2%, Pete reported. "This is it, Captain. Now or never." Sullivan looked around the bridge at his crew. They were all looking back at him with trust and determination in their eyes. They believed in him, in each other, and in what they were trying to do. "Execute," Sullivan said. Pete slammed his hand down on the power release. Every system on the Harmony channeled its energy into one massive burst. The engines roared like angry giants, and the ship's hull began to glow with the heat of the energy flowing through a dot. At the same moment, Katie played the highest, strongest note of her entire performance. The sound seemed to cut through space itself, creating a resonance frequency that matched the vibration of the raindrops around them. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The raindrops, which had been falling normally just a second before, suddenly began to glow. First red, then orange, then bright white. The water was turning to steam so fast that it created a shockwave that rippled out from the Harmony in all directions. The fire spread through the rain like a chain reaction. Each drop that turned to steam caused the drops around it to heat up and explode. Within seconds, the entire storm was burning. The rain was on fire, and the fire was spreading to the alien ships. "It is working," Lisa Chun shouted over the noise of the burning storm. "The feedback loop is causing their weather control system to overload." Alex watched on his screen as the alien ships were caught in their own burning rain. Their shields were designed to protect against energy weapons and missiles, not against steam explosions happening all around them. The fire was getting through their defenses and damaging their hulls. But the most amazing thing was happening to the storm itself. As the rain burned, it created new weather patterns. The fire was creating wind, and the wind was creating more lightning. But this lightning was different. It was not controlled by the aliens anymore. It was wild and unpredictable, and it was striking their ships instead of the Harmony. "Captain," Sarah called out, "the storm is collapsing. Their control system is failing." "Good. Take us away from their lead ship before they recover." The Harmony pulled back from the alien formation just as their weather control system completely failed. The burning rain continued for a few more seconds, then began to fade. The storm clouds dissolved, and the lightning stopped, but the damage was done. 3 of the alien ships were badly damaged, their hulls cracked, and their systems failing. The others were retreating, apparently unable to understand what had just happened. The alien commander's voice came through the communication system, but it sounded different now. Less certain. "Human vessel, explain what you have done." "This is not possible according to our calculations." Sullivan smiled grimly. "What we have done is called improvisation. It is what happens when you combine human creativity with human determination. Your actions are illogical. You used our weapon against us through methods that should not work." "That is because you do not understand music," Katie said, speaking for the first time since the battle began. "Music is not just sound. It is harmony. It is the ability to take separate things and make them work together to create something beautiful and powerful." "This is impossible," the alien commander said. "No," Sullivan replied. "This is human." Alex looked at his instruments and saw something that made his heart leap. "Captain, I am detecting human ships approaching from multiple directions. Our people heard Katie's music, and they are coming to help." Through the bridge windows, Alex could see the first human reinforcements arriving. Ships from the mining colonies, the research stations, and the frontier settlements. They had heard the music and understood the message. Humanity was under attack, and they had come to fight. The alien ships were now outnumbered. Their weapon was destroyed, and their technology advantage was not as great as they had thought. For the first time since the battle began, Alex allowed himself to believe they might actually win. Katie lowered her violin and looked at Captain Sullivan. "What do we do now?" Sullivan looked out at the alien ships, then at the approaching human fleet. "Now we show them what happens when you threaten humanity." The human fleet arrived like a swarm of angry bees. Ships from every corner of human space dropped out of hyperspace around the battlefield. Mining vessels with modified weapons, research ships with improvised shields, and even passenger liners. That had been converted into makeshift warships that Alex counted them on his scanner. "Captain, we have over 40 human ships now. They keep coming." Captain Sullivan watched the tactical display with amazement. "I have never seen anything like this. Ships from colonies that barely speak to each other are working together like they have trained for years." Katie was still on the bridge, her violin ready in her hands. The music brought them together. When people hear music, they remember what they share instead of what divides them. The alien commander's voice came through the communication system again. This time, Alex could hear confusion and something that might have been fear. "Human vessels, you are acting in violation of logical behavior patterns. Individual ships should not sacrifice themselves for others without clear benefit." "You still do not understand," Sullivan replied. "We are not individual ships. We are humanity. Attack one of us, and you attack all of us." One of the human ships, a mining vessel called the Iron Mountain, moved closer to the Harmony. Its captain's voice came through the radio, rough and cheerful. "This is Captain Bill Rogers of the Iron Mountain. We heard your lady's music and came running. What do you need us to do?" Before Sullivan could answer, the alien fleet made their decision. The remaining ships began to move into attack formation. Their weapons started charging, and Alex could see energy building up in their gun ports. "All human ships, this is Captain Sullivan of the Harmony. We are about to face the largest alien fleet ever encountered. They believe we are too emotional and chaotic to be allowed to exist. Let us show them they are wrong. The alien fleet opened. Fire first. Dozens of energy beams shot out from their ships toward the human vessels. But something unexpected happened. The human ships did not scatter or panic. Instead, they moved together like dancers, each ship protecting the others. How are they coordinating so well? Lisa Chun asked, watching the battle unfold on her screen. Danny Park looked up from his communication station with wonder in his voice. They are still listening to Katie's music. The broadcast is still going out to all human ships. The music is helping them work together. Alex watched as the mining ship Iron Mountain took a direct hit from an alien weapon. Its shields flared and sparked, but it did not retreat. Instead, it moved to protect a smaller research vessel that was behind it. The research vessel, in turn, used its sensors to help guide the weapons of a passenger liner that had been converted into a warship. It is like a symphony, Katie said softly, each ship playing its own part, but all working together to create something beautiful. But the aliens were not finished. Their lead ship, the largest vessel in their fleet, began to glow with a strange energy. Alex had never seen anything like it before. "Captain," Lisa said, her voice filled with alarm, "that ship is charging some kind of super weapon. The energy readings are off the charts." The alien commander's voice came through the speakers one more time. "Human vessels, you have proven more resourceful than anticipated. But this ends now. Our ultimate weapon will destroy your entire fleet. In one attack." The alien superweapon finished charging. Alex could see it on his screen as a massive ball of energy forming at the front of their ship. It was bigger than any weapon he had ever seen, and it was pointed directly at the center of the human fleet. "All ships evasive maneuvers, Sullivan?" Ordered. But even as the human ships began to scatter, Alex knew it would not be enough. The alien weapon was too big, too powerful. It would destroy most of the human fleet when it fired. That was when Katie raised her violin again. "What are you doing?" Sullivan asked. "Something I have never tried before," Katie replied. "I am going to play a piece that was written for times like this, when everything seems hopeless, and all you have left is your heart and your courage." She began to play, and the music that came from her violin was unlike anything Alex had ever heard. It was not just beautiful or powerful. It was transformative. It reached into the heart of every human who heard it and reminded them of what they were fighting for. On the mining ship Iron Mountain, Captain Bill Rogers heard the music and felt his fear disappear. He looked at his weapons officer and nodded. "Everything we have got. Pour it into their big ship." The Iron Mountain fired every weapon it had at the alien superweapon. The energy beams struck the charging weapon and caused it to flicker. Other human ships saw what the Iron Mountain was doing and joined in. Soon, dozens of human ships were firing at the alien superweapon, trying to disrupt it before it could fire. But the aliens were ready for this. Their shields absorbed most of the human weapon's fire, and their superweapon continued to charge. "It is not working," Alex said desperately. "Their shields are too strong." That was when Katie's music reached its peak. The melody soared above the sound of battle, and every human in the fleet felt it in their bones. The music was telling them something. It was saying that sometimes, when you cannot win through strength, you have to win through sacrifice. Crew of the Harmony understood first. Pete Collins looked at his engineering readings and saw what needed to be done. "Captain, I can overload our engines. Create a massive energy explosion right next to their super weapon. It will destroy us, but it might disrupt their weapon enough to save the fleet." Sullivan looked around the bridge at his crew. They were all looking back at him with calm acceptance. They knew what had to be done. "No," Katie said firmly, still playing her violin. "There is another way." She began to play a different melody, one that Alex recognized. It was the same piece she had played at the beginning of the battle, but now it was different. Now it was not just music. It was a command, a call to action that every human in the fleet could understand. The human ships began to move, not away from the alien superweapon, but toward it. They were forming a line, a barrier between the alien weapon and the rest of the fleet. They were going to sacrifice themselves to protect the others. What are they doing? Lisa asked. They are being human, Sullivan said with pride in his voice. They are showing these aliens what we really are. The alien superweapon fired. The alien superweapon's energy beam struck the line of human ships. Alex closed his eyes, expecting to see them all destroyed. But when he opened them again, something impossible was happening. The human ships were still there. Damaged, sparking, and barely holding together, but still there. The alien weapon had hit them with enough energy to destroy a small moon, but they had survived. How? Lisa Chun whispered, staring at her scanner readings. The music, Katie said, her violin still singing its defiant melody. They absorbed the energy and shared it among all their ships. Instead of one ship taking the full blast, they all took a small part of it. Alex looked at his tactical display and saw what she meant. The human ships had linked their shields together, creating one massive protective barrier. When the alien weapon hit, the energy was spread out across 40 ships instead of hitting just one or two. That should not be possible, Pete Collins said in amazement. Ship shields are not designed to work together like that. They are now, Benny Park said from his communication station. The music created a harmony between all the ship's systems. They are working as one giant ship instead of many small ones. The alien commander's voice came through the speakers, and for the first time, Alex heard something that sounded like panic. This is impossible. Our calculations show that your ships should have been destroyed. Captain Sullivan stood up and walked to the front of the bridge. Your calculations are wrong because you do not understand what we are. We are not just individual ships or individual people. We are humanity, and we do not break easily. On the screen, Alex could see the alien fleet. They were pulling back, their formations breaking apart. The aliens had thrown their most powerful weapon at the humans, and it had failed. They did not know what to do next, but Katie knew. She began to play a new melody, one that was not about fighting or defiance. This music was about hope, about reaching out to others, about finding something good even in the darkness. What are you playing now? Sullivan asked. A song about peace, Katie replied. About understanding between different peoples. Her music reached out through space to the alien ships. At first, nothing happened. But then, slowly, something began to change. One of the smaller alien ships broke away from their formation. It approached the human fleet carefully, its weapons powered down. A new voice came through the communication system, different from the cold, mechanical voice of their commander. Human vessels, this is Sub-Commander 09 of the Exploration Fleet. We wish to speak with you. This is Captain Sullivan. What do you want to talk about? There was a long pause. Benzara 9 spoke again, and her voice sounded strange, almost uncertain. Your acoustic vibrations ... your music. It is doing something to us. We are experiencing sensations we have never felt before. Lisa Chun looked up from her science station with excitement. Captain, I am reading unusual brain activity from their ship. The music is affecting their neural patterns. Affecting them how? Sullivan asked. I think they are feeling emotions for the first time in their lives. On the alien command ship, the main commander's voice came through again, but now it sounded angry and desperate. Zara 9, return to formation immediately. You are being contaminated by the human mental illness. No, Zara 9 replied, and there was something new in her voice, something that sounded almost like wonder. This is not illness. This is beautiful. I can feel things I never knew existed. Joy, sadness, hope, fear. How do humans live with such intense experiences? More alien ships began to break away from their formation. Their crews were being affected by Katie's music, and they wanted to understand what was happening to them. The alien commander became more desperate. All ships destroy the human vessels immediately. Their contamination is spreading to our crew members. But something unexpected happened. Some of the alien ships refused to fire. Their crews had been listening to the music too long, and they could no longer bring themselves to destroy the source of such beauty. "Commander," one of the alien captains said, "I cannot fire on them. The music ... makes me feel connected to them, like they are not enemies, but ... friends." The alien commander's voice cracked with rage. This is exactly why humans must be destroyed. They spread their emotional chaos to everyone they meet. Fire on the human ships immediately, or I will destroy you myself. "No," Zaranine said firmly. "I will not fire on beings who have shown me the beauty of feeling." "Commander, you are wrong about humans. They are not chaotic or destructive. They are creative and caring." The alien fleet was splitting apart. About half the ships were still following their commander's orders, but the other half were refusing to fight. Katie's music had done something that no weapon could do. It had turned enemies into friends. Alex watched as several alien ships moved to join the human fleet. They were switching sides in the middle of the battle, choosing music and emotion over cold logic and destruction. Alien Commander made one final desperate attack. His ship and the ships still loyal to him fired everything they had at the humans and the aliens who had joined them. But the combined fleet was ready. The human ships and their new alien allies worked together perfectly. The humans provided this creativity and adaptability, while the aliens provided advanced technology and precise calculations. Together, they defeated the remaining hostile ships quickly and efficiently. When the battle was over, the alien commander's ship was drifting, powerless in space. His voice came through the communications one last time, weak and defeated. "This is impossible. Emotions are weakness. Logic is strength. How did you defeat us?" Katie answered him, her violin resting in her arms. "You are wrong about emotions. They are not weakness. They are what make us strong. When we feel love, we fight harder to protect what we care about. When we feel hope, we never give up. When we feel joy, we remember what makes life worth living." "I do not understand," the commander said. "Then let us teach you," Sullivan offered. "Join us. Learn what it means to feel. Learn what it means to be alive, not just logical." There was a long silence. Then quietly the alien commander said, I would like to learn." 6 months later, Alex stood on the observation deck of the Harmony and watched as human and alien. Children played together in the ship's recreation area. The war was over. The Zephyrian Empire had split into 2 groups. Those who wanted to learn about emotions had joined the humans in exploring the galaxy together. Those who preferred pure logic had gone to a distant part of space where they could live as they chose. Katie was there too, playing her violin for a mixed audience of humans and aliens. The alien children were learning to appreciate music, while the human children were learning about advanced science and mathematics from their new friends. "It is hard to believe it all started with music," Alex said to Captain Sullivan. Sullivan smiled. "Music has always been humanity's greatest weapon and our greatest gift. It brings out the best in us and helps others see the best in themselves." Katie finished her song and looked up at them. "What should I play next?" Alex looked out at the stars. at the mixed fleet of human and alien ships exploring together, at the children of two species learning from each other. "Play something about the future," he said. "Something about hope." And Katie did.